So on the back, so this is what you'll be needing. You're going to be needing your packet that has the 4 eyes. You're going to be needing your journal that has your peacock. And then you're going to be needing the back of your face chart, because what we're going to do is we're going to do some gradient effects like so. Okay? We're going to start with 2 colors. We're going to go from light to dark and dark to light. Okay? So go ahead and get 2 matte pencils. Any color that you like, it doesn't matter. So we're going to practice a gradient, how to create a gradient. Okay? For this particular technique, we're going to recall our fashion design techniques when we went through that. You're going to lay your matte pencil down. You're going to pick up your matte pencil with your pointer and your thumb, like so. Okay? On this first line, and it doesn't matter if you're using the top or the bottom, okay, on this first line, you're going to ever so lightly color in your design, which in this case, our design is going to be this long rectangle. Ever so lightly. And I know you can barely see it, and that's the point. You shouldn't be able to see it very dark. Okay? On our second line, what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to color in our second shape, which is our rectangle. And we're going to hold the pencil, the matte pencil, in the same way, putting it down, holding it flat with your hand above it, pick it up with your pointer and your thumb. And you're going to color in your shape, which is a rectangle. So you're just going up and down or side to side, depending on how you're holding your paper, or how your paper is. But on the second shape, the second rectangle, second line, what you're going to do is you're going to push down a little harder. Not a lot, just a little bit. It should blend in with your first line, but it should be slightly darker. Then you're going to go to your third line. On your third line, you're going to do the same thing, but this time you're going to go slightly darker. Now, some people, especially with makeup, they like to go darker in layers. So the first layer is light, the second layer is medium, and the third layer is dark. Some people like to go ahead and just apply the right amount of pigment to make it light, medium, or dark. Your choice. So your third line should be slightly darker, but not too much darker than your second line. Then we're going to move on to our fourth line. Our fourth line is going to be even darker than the third. Don't forget to rotate your matte pencil as needed, since you're wasting the lead, as we learned in fashion design. And you should be holding the pencil as we did in fashion design, not as if you're writing, because when you do that, you're going to push the lead in and make lines. Now, the reason why we're just going sideways or up and down, depending on how your paper is because this shape is straight. When you're doing the eye is curved, so you do a curved line when you're applying the makeup. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and take a second matte pencil. I'm going to do red with mine. You can do whatever color you like. It does not matter if it goes or not. And with this one, we're going to go in reverse. Okay? Just as when you drive, you need to know how to drive forward. You also need to know how to drive backward so you can back out of the parking spot, right? So, same thing. We're going to start with this fifth line with the darkest red. We're only going to go 4 more lines down, okay? So, we're going to make this second color as dark as the first color on the fourth line. Okay, so we're going to start off dark, but not too dark, because remember, we're going to start going lighter. But it should be just as dark as the line next to it. Then we're going to go down. Now we're on the 6th line. And we're going to color this shape in, which is a rectangle. It's straight. But now we're going to go and let off a little bit of the pressure. And not gonna push down so hard to make a little bit lighter shade. On the next line, we're gonna go even lighter. Even lighter. Releasing some of that pressure, not pushing down so hard. And on the very last line, you just barely wanna touch the paper as lightly as possible. No, hardly any pressure, just enough to color it in. So there you have it, your practice technique. You're gonna go from light to dark and then dark to light. When you're sitting in class and you're done with your work, or you're at home watching TV, instead of just wasting your time watching the TV, do something productive like this to where you're gonna work on the amount of pressure that you're gonna push down onto the paper and release. Push down and release, making it dark to light, light to dark, or light to dark, dark to light, okay? The reason why we practice, and this can be done on regular notebook paper or just regular paper. So you don't have to have lines, just draw you some lines if you want, or if not, don't, because the face doesn't have lines, right? But the reason why we practice this is the amount of pressure you push down, whether you're doing nail art on the nail, whether you're doing makeup or face painting with a brush or some type of, not marker, but face type of marker like the eyeliner markers, whether you're doing face painting, any one of those techniques, even when you're going into applying hair color, how much pressure you push, that you have to practice with your hands. That's something that your muscles are not used to. So this is a technique that's great to practice with. Okay, any questions? All right, let's put this aside. And now let's get our little peacock out. Now this peacock is in your journal, your coloring journal that you should have. It is after the little cat and it is before the horse. Okay, so we're going to color this peacock. This peacock is going to be due on Friday. You on your own, you're gonna color the tail from dark to light. Okay, dark is gonna be at the tail end, at the tip of the feathers, and then light is gonna be over at the little bum area of the peacock. Okay, together we're gonna color this body of the peacock. Put that right there. Okay. All right, so any color that you like. Last time I did purple, I'm going to do red on this one. Now, with this particular one, you can, if you don't have yours, you can do it on the curve on the back of this is fine. And then whenever you find yours at home or whatever, you can turn it in. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do gradients. I call them a foxtail gradient. So the rest of the year, next year, when I say it, you're going to, oh, okay, that's what she's talking about. So it's a foxtail gradient. It's the ombre technique. So whenever you're doing the ombre on the hair, it's the same technique from dark to light, light to dark. That's why we introduce it to you this way. Okay. All right. So we're going to go one way and then we're going to go in reverse. All right. Grab your matte pencil the regular way you would color. Now this, I picked this particular peacock or this design because it does have a curved shape to it. So when you're working on eyeshadow, the eye is curved slightly. Okay, so you want to start practicing the gradients with a curved motion. All right, and we're going to curve in both directions. All right, we are going to start here at the bum area. On this very top piece here, we're going to go from dark to light. Okay, so go ahead and start coloring in your base. It's going to be very dark. And remember that we're going in with a curve. So as the shape of the coloring book design page design is curving, you need to curve with it. You can't just draw or color or shade in a straight line because this is not a straight shape. Now, these were a straight shape, so yes, you go in a straight line, but this is not a straight shape, okay? So use your curve of your hand to color that in. Okay, so we're gonna come in, and again, like a gradient, you don't want to, and just like whenever we did our contouring and highlighting, you don't want it to be, here's a line, Here's the dark and here's the light. You want it to blend oh so smoothly. Again, working with the amount of pressure that you want to create your shade of color. And there you have it. You should have from a dark to a light. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next one. We're going to skip the little curved line that has the dots. We're not going to color that in, okay? But now instead of dark to light, we're going to go light to dark to create some different contouring techniques. So here we're going to go light, very small amount of pressure, very light. And then we're going to start curving our matte pencil. And then we're going to go dark as we hit the opposite side. You can always come back and add a second or third or fourth layer to correct any mistakes you might have created or just to give you a darker look. So same thing, if you get to, when we get to airbrush makeup, it's the same thing, okay? It's a gradient of colors. You add layers as you go along. We're going to go to our third line, and our third line we're going to go from dark to light. Don't forget to rotate your matte pencil as we learned that we waste our lead in fashion design. Same thing when you're working with face painting or you're working with eyeliners. Okay, you waste the lead and you want to rotate to self-sharpen. Okay, and then on the next line, again, you're going to go from light to dark. Now the last line is really curved, so you really want to make sure to be curving your color line. So in creating these foxtail gradients from dark to light, light to dark, you don't only create that gradient, but you also create a flow of color. Same thing when you're contouring with makeup. Okay, when you're contouring the cheeks, the forehead, it's a flow of color. When the client turns, you're gonna see the difference in the light, the highlight, and the contour dark on her forehead. Same thing is here. So those are the 4 lines. We're going to skip the itty bitty little one, and we're going to skip the little one that has the dots on it. And we're going to do the body. Now I'm going to show you something different with the body. So this body here, we're going to color all of it. Okay? In coloring all of it, we're going to color all of it all the way to the peak. To the peak. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to do layers. Just like in eyeshadow and contouring makeup, sometimes you have to layer on, especially in airbrush makeup, you have to layer on the color. You can't just take your color and make a line and expect it, okay, that's great, and then it's just big old line, there's no blending. So what I want you to do is go ahead and color in the entire body from the bum area to the beak of the peacock. Now remember that you need to curve your line, curve your hand as you're going. This is not a straight shape, it is a curved line. And if you need to, you can rotate the paper if you need. Okay? So rotate as you go. Very lightly. All the way to the beak. Okay, once the entire bird body from the bum to the beak is colored in with one single layer, the lightest color, which is this color here, the lightest one we did on either end, we are now going to gradient darker. Okay, so whether you start at the light to dark or dark to light is up to you, that's preference. I'll go from the dark to the light. Not forgetting that I need to rotate my pencil as I go along so that I know I'm wasting my lead, so I want to keep a nice sharp lead to deposit as much color as possible. And then also too, I need to remember that I need to curve my hand as I'm going along with my body and the design of my shape, because the shape is curved just like the eye when you're doing eyeshadow, or the cheeks, okay, the jaw, the chin, the lips. You need to practice using those curves, going with the curves and also going against the curves. If you're doing some kind of stage makeup or theatrical makeup that you need to change the look, kind of like Maleficent, okay? You change the look entirely of the person's facial structure, and you need to make sure you can go against those curves, okay? As you're going along, you want to make sure that you also pay attention that you're not getting too dark, because it's easier to go darker than it is to go lighter, because if you want to go lighter, you have to remove it, especially in makeup, and start over. But you can always go darker. It's much easier to go darker. Okay? It's also good to step back or stand away after you look at your design for a while. You kind of get used to the look, but if you kind of cover it up, or if you look away and come back or put it up in front of you, you can kind of see, okay, well, there's a spot that I need to make darker, or that my gradient doesn't look very good. Okay? So, you might be thinking, wow, she gave us this coloring book and it's got cats and horses and peacocks, and we're in cosmetology and we're coloring. Well, one, coloring is very stressless. It relieves a lot of stress. But two, if you think about it, making this dark, you should feel your hand. You should feel the muscles in your hand working. Just in going up and down, you should feel those muscles in your hand moving. Because you're a young, unseasoned stylist, makeup artist, designer, artist, those muscles are weak.
9:30 ADA attendance reminder.
Those muscles are very weak. So what we need to do is we need to do exercises like this that is going to get that blood flow in your hands, that's going to get those curves going, that's going to allow you to practice the pressure of pushing down and lifting off, the practice of making your muscles move in a certain way. Okay, so if I, let's say, had you color this here, this medallion, if you can't color in and stay within the lines of this small little flower that is the same size as my fingernail, how do I expect you to do well on nail art? You can't, right? So we practice on these different little designs, and if we do a great job here, we're creating muscle memory. So as I'm coloring this little flower, my muscles are going to be used to going up and down in those strokes, in those small strokes, and not going outside the line. So when I come in and I do a small flower on my fingernail, my hand is used to doing those small strokes up and down. So when I do that, then I'm going to be so much better at drawing the flower. That's a technique that I heard from an artist once. Practice on a small scale and you'll be good at a big scale. So that's why you have all of these little designs to work on. Okay. So here with your peacock, you've done the body. Your task from here to Friday, you're going to turn this in on Friday. You're going to finish coloring this in. You can tear this out of your book if you like, so you don't have to haul it around. But you have here, you're going to be coloring the tip of the tail dark to light. Okay? You can use different colors if you want. You can use the same color if you want. Stay within the lines. Any questions? All right.